evening, good morning, whatever. My name's Christian. I'm a Year 2 Public Service student with University of Wales Trinity St David, or Swansea Met, whichever you prefer. That was the old one, Swansea Met. And I'm here to talk to you today about METFIRE, which is a voluntary programme set up between University of Wales Trinity St David and Mid and West Wales Fire and Rescue Service. And it's a programme set up for students of public services from all years. And I'm here to talk to you about it and my experiences and what I did, and we'll just wrap it up, and that'll be that. It won't take up too much of your time. So, METFIRE was started up last year between the lovely Pam and Bron, and it was set up for students, of course, for public services and for a module for part of our course. So it is obviously part of the course. It is marked, it is accredited. So you've got to take it seriously, otherwise there's no point. I started in November. I had an application form off Bronwyn, and I filled that in. It was all about personal details, next of kin, and just the usual sort of thing. And after that, Mid and West Wales Fire and Rescue come down. They went into a conference room. I brought my application form with me. Also, you have to have 2 forms of ID. Now, this could be a passport, driving licence, birth certificate, that sort of thing, as long as there's 2 credible forms of ID, not your Riley's membership card or your whatever card you got, varsity card. Can't have that. So yeah, after I given that in, it was the application form went off. They photocopied the 2 parts of the ID. They were sent back to me. Then after that, there was a CRB check that was sent back. So I sent that back to Mid and West Wales Fire and Service, and we were off and running. So there were 3 bits of training, and the first one was community safety and home fire safety checks, which was done by Mr. Andy Groves. And RTC and road safety, which is road traffic collision and its safeties. So that was interesting. So that dealt with playing on phones and that sort of thing, which you've got to teach young kids that you're working with as well, and other people like that. As well as with the home fire safety checks, that involved going into people's houses, looking at loose cabling, exposed cabling, giving out free block sockets as well. For just to be electrically safe and things like that, So it was interesting, and I did get a few things from it. The last bit of training was drill ground supervision. Now that involved the drill ground, which was a yard of Morrison Fire Station, and that was running out hose reels, operating the fire hydrant, operating the pump on the fire wagon. The uniform, PPE, manual handling. It involved a lot of things, but it mainly was supervision of the drill ground, which is obviously drills, which is running out the hoses, the things that the fire service trained for. And all this was geared for, the drill ground supervision was to supervise young kids when they come in with the young firefighters and with the Phoenix courses, so they're trained into just learning to be a firefighter. So you were there as a supervisor, and I was there as a volunteer. So that was good. I enjoyed that. I'd never done any sort of, because you did have to be a leading supervisor at one point. I'd never done that before, so that was a bit daunting, and that was a bit scary, if I'm being honest. So after that, it was pretty good. So we were just all geared up, ready for what we wanted to dive into the voluntary work. So the first bit of voluntary work I did was Phoenix courses. Now I did 2 of these, one in Port Talbot and one in Lampeter. Very nice part of Mid Wales, and they were very interesting. I'd never worked with young kids before, never worked with young teenagers, and the first lot was young kids who had offended. They'd been a bit naughty, so they were put onto that course, and it was my job as a volunteer to supervise that, with obviously the other supervisors. And so that was good, very good, and that was a week. That lasted for 1 week for each course. So the kids learnt just what we've been doing in drill ground training. They learnt how to do fire hoses, they learnt how to put on branches on the end of the fire hose, squirt water, they learnt how to operate the fire hydrant, they learnt how to do ladders, they learnt how to operate the pump, loads of things, building a bridge with ladders, so it was good, for them and for me. Now, as I'd never worked with young kids before, it was daunting, and I've got to be honest, it was a bit nerve-wracking sometimes, because they've always got something to say. That we're all teenagers once, they've always got something to say, so it was interesting. But you have to say, hey, behave yourselves now. Listen. You have to help them if they've got a question, for you about the fire service or that. As well as drill ground, they were also put into a classroom for lectures about RTCs, road traffic collisions, hoax calls, arson, what was else, antisocial behaviour as well, and they were there with their carers, so everybody was involved in trying to get them to learn, which is exactly what it was all about, the Phoenix courses. So all in all, the Phoenix courses were interesting. I never worked with young kids before, and I was a bit shy in the beginning, to be honest, and it was pretty bad the first time. The second time it was good. I came on my shell. I started, saying, asserting your authority. You don't have to assert your authority and all that, but you have to be assertive. If they're doing something wrong, it's not just for respect, for you and everyone else, and not being disruptive of the thing. It is also about health and safety. If they, get the PPE on and that, if they're on the drill ground and things like that, and if they're listening in class, because it is serious stuff, hoax calls and that, it costs lives, and if they're disrupting, you've got to, stamp it out and assert your authority, and just say, cut out boys, otherwise, no point in you being here. So that was interesting, and I did teach me a lot as a person, because as a teenager, you always got something to say. You always want to be the big man, the big girl, or whatever. So it was interesting, just to be on the other side, teaching and that, and trying to conduct a classroom environment. Also, I did a road traffic safety event, which was, they had a van up in the Wales training centre, the Wales driving training centre, sorry, and some kids from Birch Grove School come down and they sat in the van, and the DVD was played on the two seats. That was, they sit in the back, and the passenger seat and the driver's seat, there were two television screens, and they saw an improvised or reconstructed RTC. And that was quite powerful for them. A girl was playing on the phone and caused a crash, killed two of her friends, killed two of the other road users and that. So it is education for them. There was a problem where the simulator at the back wasn't working, which was a rally car at the back. Well, it wasn't a real rally car, obviously, but it was like games, arcades, like in Mega Bowl. You sit down, you put your 20p in. You didn't have to pay this time, but it was all that. So. But that didn't work. There was a few technical problems with that. As a volunteer, I put my input into it. Quite useless, because I'm not that technically minded. But it didn't really work out, so we had to cut that off. As well as I did an event in Swansea University, which was setting up a stall, and that was community safety, which is what it was training for. Going into houses and sorting out faulty wiring or something like that. Just talking to people who were walking past about the dangers of fires in the homes and domestic properties. So we're giving out leaflets, giving out just water bottles, pens, mints. It was pretty good, And you had all walks of life, and you had young people, older people, people from all different backgrounds, So it was good just to give them an insight as to what community safety is all about. So we gave out, like I say, leaflets, about cooking, about escape plans, about things like I just said about faulty wiring and the block plugs, which can be dangerous if they're not fused properly, and saying that we could come out and do a home fire safety check for free, and the old smoke alarms as well. If they haven't got them, then we do that for free. So just getting the message across that we're there for you, and that, because a few of them didn't realise that we come out and do it for free, not fire and rescue service. So that was interesting. Right, I'm going on a bit now. So in conclusion, I learned a lot from it. There were a few negatives. It was a bit daunting, I've got to be honest, but it was a great experience, and I enjoyed it, and I'm still enjoying it. So if you fancy doing it, it's great to put on your CV. It's good insight into what these guys do, the Fire and Rescue Service, Mid and West Wales. And also as well, you meet some great characters. I met some great characters, to name a couple, Lester and Craig Jenkins, who shaved my hair. Thank you very much. So that's me out. Thank you very much for listening. stay safe, stay public services, and have a good evening or a good day.